You ever notice how the cold doesn't feel dangerous at first? It just feels annoying, like the universe turned the thermostat down to mess with you? And then one day, the power goes out, the room turns into a concrete freezer, and suddenly you're Googling $0 winter heater at 2 a.m. hoping a couple candles and a clay pot can stop you from becoming a human popsicle. So I tried it, not because I expected magic, but because history keeps proving one uncomfortable truth. People rarely freeze because they had no heat. They freeze because they misunderstood how heat actually works. Here's the thing, nobody tells you. Most winter survival isn't about creating warmth, it's about slowing down heat loss. Your body is basically a leaky battery, constantly radiating energy into whatever air surrounds you. When I lit that tiny flame, I expected instant comfort. But physics doesn't care about expectations. A candle outputs roughly the energy of a small light bulb, which sounds pathetic until you realize warmth isn't just temperature, it's how heat moves. The moment a metal or ceramic surface warmed up above the flame, the room felt different. Not hotter exactly, but less hostile. That's radiation at work. Instead of heat vanishing into the ceiling, it bounced outward, and suddenly sitting close to it felt like stepping into weak sunlight. You'd think the goal would be heating the whole room, right? Wrong. That's the first mistake people make when the grid fails. Heating empty space is a losing battle because air holds very little thermal energy compared to surfaces and bodies. So I shrank the environment instead. Blankets draped over chairs, corners sealed, a smaller bubble carved out of a larger cold room. Military cold weather manuals call this microclimate management. You don't fight winter head-on, you reduce the volume you need to defend. And when you do that, even a tiny heat source starts to matter, because the temperature difference your body feels isn't measured across the house, it's measured across a few feet of space around you. But then came the uncomfortable realization. The heater didn't actually make more heat. Conservation of energy doesn't allow that. All those viral claims about multiplying warmth? Pure fantasy. What it did do was store and release energy slowly, smoothing out the harsh spikes of heat loss. When the ceramic warmed, it felt steady, predictable, less like a flickering candle and more like a quiet presence. That's basic thermodynamics. Mass absorbs energy and releases it gradually, which is why heated stones have been used for centuries in survival shelters. You're not cheating physics, you're negotiating with it. And then there's the danger nobody wants to talk about because it ruins the aesthetic of cozy survival videos. Combustion steals oxygen. Every flame is a tiny negotiation with chemistry, turning fuel into heat and gases you can't always smell. The moment you close off airflow completely, you trade warmth for risk, and that's not a deal you want to make. Real survival thinking accepts that a small crack of fresh air might feel colder in the moment, but keeps you alive longer. Fire isn't your friend or your enemy. It's a tool that demands respect, and winter punishes arrogance faster than anything else. What surprised me most wasn't the heater itself, it was how much of the warmth came from me. Humans generate more heat than you think, roughly the energy of a low-power heater just by existing. Once I added reflective surfaces behind me, foil, shiny metal, anything that bounced infrared back, the difference was immediate. It wasn't that the air got warmer. It was that my own heat stopped escaping so easily. Polar explorers figured this out long ago, with reflective liners and tight shelters. Your nervous system reads radiant heat differently from warm air, which is why sitting in sunlight feels hotter than sitting in a heated room at the same temperature. Then came moisture, the silent thief of winter survival. The moment your clothes get damp, sweat, condensation, even breath trapped in fabric, evaporation starts stealing energy from your skin. The heater can't compete with that loss. Keeping layers dry, elevating yourself off cold floors, and creating a barrier between you and concrete made a bigger difference than adding another candle ever could. Cold isn't just temperature, it's a system of energy leaks, and plugging those leaks turns tiny heat sources into lifelines. After an hour, the biggest change wasn't on a thermometer, it was in perception. The flame created a psychological anchor. Your brain associates fire with safety, slowing down that creeping panic that makes people pace, fidget, and burn through energy faster. Stress makes you colder because it changes how you move and breathe, and a visible heat source can calm that instinct just enough to keep you thinking clearly. Survival isn't only physics, it's biology and psychology tangled together in ways most tutorials ignore. So does a $0 winter heater actually work? Yes, but only if you stop expecting miracles. It won't turn a frozen house into a tropical resort. It won't replace insulation, dry clothing, or smart positioning. What it does is create a pocket of survivability. A small, stubborn zone where your body loses heat slower than it normally would. And in real blackout scenarios, that margin is everything. Hypothermia isn't dramatic, It's slow, quiet, and deceptive, creeping in while you think you're just a little cold. The real lesson here isn't about candles or clay pots. It's about understanding that winter doesn't need to be defeated. It just needs to be delayed. You manage airflow instead of sealing yourself in, you shrink the space instead of heating the void, you reflect your own warmth instead of chasing bigger flames, and you treat every drop of moisture like an enemy. The heater becomes less of a gadget and more of a reminder that survival is a chain of small decisions stacking together, each one buying you another hour, another night, another chance. And honestly, that's the part nobody puts in the thumbnail. The $0 heater works not because it's powerful, but because it forces you to think differently. It turns you from someone waiting for warmth into someone shaping how heat moves through a space. You stop chasing comfort and start engineering it, one small adjustment at a time, until the cold stops feeling like an unstoppable force and starts feeling like a puzzle you can outlast. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources.